Okay, so it didn't do a double countdown, so that's good. Welcome back, everybody. It is your pal Orange Hat here with Mara Jade. We are doing episode 9 of the singles. Now, before we do get started, I am well aware that we are going to most likely have a heavy spammer count. My mod's on a hair trigger, so if you are coming out with shit and you plan on being an asshole, you're going to get yeeted immediately. So I am aware that my buddy Demongo is in the chat. Good to see you. He has been cleared. He sometimes jokes around. So if he may sound like a spammer, if he's not, but he is not. So do not worry about him. Now, before we get started, rest in peace to the late great Brendan Lee. And a lot of the details came out about what exactly happened because a lot of it was kept under lock and key. Brendan Lee's Brendan Lee's fiance Eliza broke her silence after the death of Helena Hutchins, who Alec Baldwin killed 2 years ago. 2 years ago, back in October. So before we get started, Mara, let everybody know where they can find you, or, well, if you do, you're going to also probably be letting a lot of the spammers know.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you know me, you know my YouTube channel, you know where you can find me pretty much, because I do gaming streams, and I told Gravy that I will be getting back into making videos. It's just past couple months have been crazy, dealing with a bunch of different circumstances. Most recently, taking care of a 6 stray cats that my sister's sister's boyfriend is going to adopt, but we had to make sure that he was well enough to be taken in recently. So that was an interesting experience recently. But he's getting better. On a positive note, he is getting better.
Ready. So. And saying hello to the chat. Hello, Anime Knight. He is one of my mods. Mara is also in the chat too, so she will be watching things. Hello to Sirius X as well. We also have Hatersaurus, Davian Donaldson. Thank you for coming in. It's all right that you can't join tonight, but thank you for catching the replay. I have been getting some hour boosts, so thank you to all those who have been watching my playlists and stuff. I still need 1,100 because now they just started to reduce again. But thank you so much for the effort that you guys are putting in. Also, I noticed a jump in my subs too recently. I finally broke 1,400, so thank you to all who have been supporting my channel. Let's see here. We also have the Mongo. How you doing? Would the crow have been successful of it was, or if it was called any other bird, I'm guessing you meant.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the parrot, for example.
Probably not. Probably not. It would have at least a different vibe to it. Shall we say?
Definitely. Netcat, good to see you. Brandon Lee was such a great actor. Yes, he was, Mammoth. Thank you for coming in as well. Gravy D, thank you for coming in. And, yep, Netcat, we all know you are good in here, so. Alrighty. That's catching up with the chat. Also, folks, Keely Chow, good to see you. Thank you for coming in. Keely, if you're wondering what's going on, we're discussing the crow, and we're also dealing with a heavy spam, most likely. So my mods are on a hair trigger. But yeah. Anyway, we are going to get this started. So I'm going to be bringing up the photos that or the snapshots or the screenshots that I've taken. Let's see here. Yeah. Whoops. All right, hold on. Back down to the little scale. There we go. And I could just put it right over that. So, yes, The Crow. Brandon Lee. This was also directed by Alex Proyas, starring Brandon Lee, Ernie Hudson, Michael Wincott, great actor, Tony Todd, Michael Massey, Bai Ling, and John Polito. Now, I also do have fun facts that we are going to be getting into. But before I do, what was your first time watching this movie, Mara?
Like when? Or like,
yeah,
or my experience. I honestly can't remember when. I do remember it was years ago. I was a teenager, and it was on one night, and I hadn't watched it, but I'd seen like sequel, but I never had seen like the first one. And it's one of those serendipitous moments where like the first one happened to be on, so I watched it in particular because of hearing what happened to Brandon Lee.
Yep.
While making this movie. And it was, I'm kind of like my dad in a way. I always like dystopian looking films.
Oh, yeah.
Like very like gritty, dirty, crime ridden, pretty much, at least in this city. And I love how they don't exactly clarify where they are, or at least they don't like hammer it home necessarily. So it could be pretty much anywhere USA in the future, dystopian future.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that they don't narrow it down that much. And also another thing that I remember thinking when I first watched it and like rewatching it, how I love that you don't have a lot of exposition. You don't need a lot of exposition or any exposition really, because it starts really like the night of the crime, the aftermath of the crime. And you really only get a gauge of what the crime was when Eric Draven is kind of absorbing memories of sorts when he touches people, or like when he's come back to life, and he's realizing why he was brought back to life.
Yeah. Now, our first fun fact: the character was created from a real life tragedy. The creator of The Crow, James O'Barr, created the character to cope with the death of his fiancée. He also learned of a couple being murdered over an engagement ring. So this was basically a coping mechanism for the original author of The Crow, which was I believe a graphic novel or a comic book run. And we got October 30th, Devil's Night, and funny enough, the crow the bird in this movie is not a crow, it is a raven.
Which are incidentally very smart birds.
Oh, both crows and ravens are.
Yeah, like very smart birds. You can actually train them.
Oh yes, very much. And this one was very well trained. His name was Magic. And another fun fact, Magic, the raven, was in the subsequent sequels that they did. He was in every sequel, all the way to Wicked Prayer, which was Eddie Furlong donning the makeup.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about
the sequels. We're not going to talk about the sequels. They also had a show too, which I will draw on as one of the facts. So I do like the cinematography. I mean, especially when they can get this close up to the damn bird, you know? So then we learn that Shelley and her rock and roll boyfriend, Eric Draven, were the victims of a very violent crime. We are not given the details. All that we saw in earlier was Draven had been thrown out a window and they were covering his body. The little girl, Sarah, knows that her friend Shelley is most likely going to die. They kind of took care of Sarah because her mother was absentee or hopped up on drugs. And Ernie Hudson playing the cop, Albrecht, this scene says it all, or this little shot here says it all, that he is going to help take care of her, kind of picking it up from Shelley and Eric.
Yeah, he's going to be kind of like a father figure of sorts, or at least he's going to keep an eye on her because, not just as a cop, but as someone who still cares about this city. And also, I love how she accuses him of you lied to her, because Shelley was asking me, where's Eric and everything, and the kids you lied to her, and he's like, I had to.
Yeah,
I had I'm not basically without saying so many words, that she's in pain, and she's gone through a traumatic experience. If I tell her any more bad news, it could make it worse.
She could easily give up.
Yes,
or any undue stress is actually, believe it or not, there are some areas where the law is you do not cause a person who is grieving any undue stress in a situation like that.
Yeah.
Doing so can actually get you legally in trouble if you are a cop. So then we get the 1 year later, and this shot was very nice where Magic is flying up and he's getting ready to wake up Eric. And I do like how he scares the girl off. She's like, "What are you, night watchman?" And it's like, "Get lost, kid."
Yes.
And then he starts pecking on the gravestone, basically, wake up.
Yeah.
And that is actually something that Magic was trained in, to peck on things in order to mimic wake up, the knock knock kind of.
There was actually a classic movie by Frank Capra called You Can't Take It With You, and in that movie was a trained raven. And it just impressed me what that raven did in the film. So it was really no surprise that this one was able to be trained to peck things.
Yep. And we then see them, or a year later, she's having a hot dog with Albert. And at this time, while the people who were responsible for Eric being killed and his fiance being killed, Eric is waking up. And this was such a great scene here, man. It's like he's being born, and what happens when babies are born, they usually cry and scream.
Yeah.
And that is actually what they wanted to have Brandon act, because it's like, this is basically you being born again into the world. And he played it very well. And we see them, they just busted up a arcade factory or an arcade place and set it to blow.
Oh, one thing I want to say is the driver, David Patrick Kelly. While watching this again, I'm watching I still love the Crow movie, but in the back of my mind, I was hearing Warriors. That's what I was thinking whenever I was because he does such a good job playing these not really slimy characters, but like rat
skeezy
bad guys. Yeah. Like seedy characters. In the back of my mind, I was hearing the Warriors. Taunt.
And so Eric is making his way, and believe it or not, folks, I am willing to bet that some of the people who got into Star Wars took inspiration from this movie in a way, because there is something that Brandon Lee does in this movie, which is when he is touching things, he is getting impressions of what happened to his life, which in Star Wars, there is a force technique known as psychometry, where you can read things off, or you can use the force to read impressions and memories of surrounding areas or things that have been touched and whatnot. It's actually used in the books or in the EU somewhat, but they also touched on it in the stuff that we don't talk about on here too much. And thank you to Gravy D with the super sticker. Unfortunately, I cannot see it, or I could see the super sticker, but what is it exactly? Let's see. Well, I can't, or somebody in the chat just well, let me know. But thank you so much, Gravy D, for the super sticker. I do appreciate it. And also, yes, don't forget to like the stream. Darth Bane's face paint looks like the Crow. In a way, yes. The Sith of Darth Bane's era. Kind of take a little bit of inspiration from it as well. So, yeah, that's another good catch right there, Soul Assassin. Thank you so much. And Trey Courtney, good to see you. So Eric is now in his apartment. He grabs his cat. And I like how he's literally moving through the apartment as if he was reliving it, where he was pulled out or held out like that, and he's mimicking all of it. Then he's thrown out the window, so he jumps out the window, cutting his hands pretty deeply, and then he realizes, oh my God, I'm healed. So it is such a great bit. And so then we get the our Tintin fun boy Skank and God damn, what was his name?
You mean
T-Bird? Yeah, T-Bird. So we get these guys, they're at the Pit, which is a bar, and they're doing the whole fire it up stuff after they were pretty much ready to blow each other's heads off.
I loved how T-Bird handled it, because like you have like the Skank, Tintin, and Fun Boy all Tintin's pointing his knives at Skank and Fun Boy and Skank are pointing their guns at like both Tintin and like the other, and then T-Bird steps in and he goes, "How much you all like want to fucking bet that mine is
this isn't loaded?" Yeah, and I mean this movie has so many great. I mean the writing in this movie is phenomenal. They just have so many freaking great lines, and the way that the actors play, like Skank, he's a speed freak, so it's basically rotted his mind to the point where he is just dial to 11 all the time.
Yeah.
And Fun Boy, played by Michael Massey, who has also passed on. I believe he passed on in 2016. He's a heroin addict or morphine addict. And
he's shacking up with what's the little girl's name? I'm like
Darla's mom or Darla. Sarah's
Darla's mother. Yeah. Like he's shacking up with mom.
Is her character. Yeah,
Sarah. And Eric mentioned morphine.
Yep.
So
we get back to he's seeing memories of his old life, touching pictures, seeing the mask and whatnot, and so then he starts applying the makeup. I mean, these good memories of his life give him a rage where he just hits the mirror and shatters it. And so another fun fact which goes with this scene is the makeup originally was not liked by the makeup artist. So he let Brendan Lee apply it himself and then sleep in it overnight to give it a more worn down look the next day for filming. So that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked. It really worked. Now, we then get the iconic shot right here. I mean, this shot right here where he's basically suiting up and getting ready to go out is such a great.
The lighting is actually the lightning, so it'll occasionally go black and then illuminate his face. Go black and then illuminate his face.
Yep. So then he is going out, and Tintin here was at a pawn shop where the Crow was looking at him, and we then see that he can see through the eyes of the Crow, which this is Crow vision. And he doesn't waste words. He goes down. I love when he falls, or he just jumps off a building or just falls off a building, and he's unhurt, so he's laughing it off, and he's reveling in his invincibility. He is essentially invincible in this case, which is something you don't usually see a lot in superhero movies unless it's like Superman.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, this is a man who is basically allowed to right the wrongs that was done to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he is given license to do it. And I love this fight because this is a person who probably wasn't very violent in his life, but he is now very violent in his death. And when he
it's
hits
definitely implied that he wasn't violent.
Yeah.
In his previous life. I mean, you literally have and we'll touch we'll touch on this, but the reason why he and his fiance were attacked is because he actually had the nerve to stand up to the criminals who essentially own the building.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
and he's taking care of Sarah. So it's like this guy, like he does not come across as anyone who was at all violent while he was living.
He was a musician in the movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I love how he fights him. I mean, the guy takes a shot at him. He's just like, grab him and just starts throwing him around.
Yeah.
And so then he tells the guy, he's like, fuck you, murderer. And he's like, I don't know who you are. What the fuck do you want, man? I want you to tell me a story. A man, a woman in a loft. And that's when he turns it on him. So you know that this isn't a perfect vengeance, because when he starts taunting him, he loses his focus. And that's when
he starts seeing Tintin, like what Tintin did to Shelley. So he's like, you know, like that. He starts reliving the memories through Tintin, essentially, or through Shelley, even, because it's like it's Shelley looking up at Tintin.
Yeah,
so he has to relive that.
And that's when Tintin actually takes. Thank you for stopping by, Sirius. Have a good day. But yeah. And Jaluk, good to see you. Thank you for stopping in. Mm-hmm. But then, yeah, he sees that the crow is watching him, basically giving him an eye's view. And so when Tintin starts throwing, I love that. He just slaps one of the freaking knives right out of the air, which is, it's like, dang.
And you could tell the way he did it, you can tell he's had at least some martial arts training, given that he's the son of Bruce Lee. The way he batted it out, like that is like literally how we're taught to block.
Like that.
And he did that, and I was like, yeah, that's the father's training right there.
Which is basically an outer in block of a sort, or a fan block even.
Yeah.
Not to mention, you also do see that some of his moves in this fight, where he's using open hands, is reminiscent to Wing Chun, which was a style that Bruce Lee was taught originally by his instructor, Ip Man. So you can see how it really has passed down through generation.
Yeah.
And then this was from the thumbnail, victims, aren't we all?
Yeah.
It is such a... We have a...
again, so many good lines. Yeah. Like, it's like, they're already dead. They just don't know it. I love that line.
Yeah. We have a spammer that I just took care of. It looks like they're creating parodies of you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we then get to the next scene where, gotta say, Bai Ling had a good ass. Because you see her in the shower. I can't show everybody that shot because, well, I'd probably get the stream pulled. But she also has a very cool tattoo. And these two are supposed to be brother and sister. Michael Wincott and Bai Ling. They're half siblings in the movie. And Michael Wincott playing Top Dollar is... You can't get much better than him, man. Such a great villain. I mean, he's like, my father or dad gave me this. 5th birthday. He said, childhood's over the day you know you're going to die. And it's just, wow, man. So also you can see that there's a woman in back of Bai Ling. apparently this family is quite twisted in a few ways, more than one. But I do like the dynamic between them. They really stick together as siblings. What was your impression of them?
I love the acting, but they're fucking freaks.
Yes, very much. Very much. And so then here's Darla and Fun Boy. And Sarah, she's like, somebody already bought me dinner. The police. And it's like,
yeah.
Oh, shit. They already bought me dinner. The police. But a lot of people don't realize just how much this movie, the tragedy of this movie messed with Michael Massey, because one of the facts that came out, it was from Michael Massey's gun that the prop bullet or the blank piece got stuck in that ended up killing Brandon. And that seriously screwed with Michael Massey for years. I mean, he was always...
I mean, it's tragic, but I don't really blame him for feeling that way. It's like, it's one of those...
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no way that he could have foreseen it or stopped it. But then there's like, I can understand like the pain he was going through, because he would be blaming himself because it was his prop. So...
And also, I learned that there are scenes in this movie where they actually did digital cover of Brandon Lee's face. They actually painted Brandon Lee's face on the doubles they had to use. Which, another fun fact, this movie was originally going to be done in black and white, with the film's flashbacks done in color. However, the studio said no, so the director shot the movie with a darker color tone. Also, this movie had to be completed without Brandon Lee, as he died during production. Stunt doubles, clever CGI painting over doubles, and not showing his face at all were methods used to complete the movie. This movie had like 1 or 2 weeks left of shooting due to the accident that killed Brandon Lee. So they had to do some clever editing, some clever tricks. And it's okay, Anime Night. I made sure to take care of it if I had to. So I love this scene. This is my favorite scene in the movie, folks. When the crow visits Gideon. I mean,
and he comes in. He literally comes in with a quote from The Raven.
Yep.
Like, did you not hear me rapping?
Yeah. Suddenly, I heard a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. What are you talking about? You heard me rapping, right? You're trespassing, and you owe me a fucking new door. John Polito in this scene is just so friggin' great. And so when he shoots him, the choice of drooling, where Brandon Lee starts smiling wickedly before he throws the guy, he just lets off this line of drool down. And I didn't notice that until recently, and I'm like, good touch. But this dude says shit on me an awful lot. Wondering if he has a fetish. I mean, he's like, shit on me. So he gets thrown over, and he takes a swing at him. He's like, Mr. Gideon, you're not paying attention. Crap. And then he puts a knife through his hand, so it's like, this dude takes a beating, and I love this scene. I love this.
Yeah, I love this scene because he's trashing the place and like, am I getting warmer? It's like, you know how this game works.
Yeah. So he tells him about the ring, and so he's just tossing the rings until also during this time, the police found Tintin.
Yeah,
and we get the first we get the first calling card. Love that. What do you call that? I call it blood detective. What?
You might call it graffiti.
Yeah, you might write it down as graffiti. And so then we have he found the ring of his fiance, which it gives him a little bit more pieces to the puzzle, of happiness as well as the pain that is over him. And I love how he goes right back out. He's like, now you're going to tell me where to find Tintin's little party pals. And he just loads the place up with the gas that, or in the fuel that's been leaking. And he's like, I'm not going to kill you. Your job is to tell them that death is coming for them tonight. And tell them that Eric Draven sends his regards. And then he takes a freaking...
I'll be right back. I can't open my door. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yep.
I'll be right back.
So he takes a guitar. And he's like, you get out of here, they're going to erase your sorry ass. And so it's like, he's already dead, so I don't think he cares. But it's like, is that gasoline I smell? No,
Yeah.
man. No. John Polito, either it was his stunt double, which looked exactly like him, well, from the back anyway, or it was John Polito who just gets launched out the frickin' back door when he shoots and blows up the place. And the way that his head hit that wall, I'm like,
oh yeah,
ow.
Yeah. And his leg being on fire. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's still taunting. He's obviously seen that this individual, because he doesn't know Eric Draven. He's like obviously seen as he cannot be harmed. He heals. You know, he's pouring out which should have given him a clue that it's gasoline that he's pouring out onto the premises, pretty much. And and he's still taunting him. I'm like, it's like maybe taking that time to get out the back while he was going out the front. Maybe
it's
like
is that gasoline I smell? No, man, no.
And he lights it by shooting.
Yeah, all the rings that were in the shotgun, he just shoots them, which somehow must have created a spark because it blew the place up.
Yeah,
which was funny.
Well, generally, I mean, I don't know about the rings, but I know firing a bullet, like the impact of the bullet will create a spark.
Yeah. And so then Albert shows up and he's like, "You move, you're dead." And I say, "I'm dead." And I move.
And he starts hopping. He's joking with them.
I mean, this is such a great. I mean, this movie has such great lines between Ernie Hudson and Brendan Lee. Really had fun together. I could tell that they had fun together in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So when he's like, "Oh, it gets even better." You know, a guy named T-Bird. He had a friend who shouldn't have played with knives, like the jacket. And so then he's like, he died a year ago the moment he touched her. They're all dead. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
And while this is happening, Gideon's is getting looted. And so he tells them to get away from there. And that's when he just walks out and disappears. Pulls a Batman kind of act, except he can physically disappear.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, great. Oh, great. Man shows up dressed like a mime from hell, and you lose him right out in the open. Well, at least he didn't pull that walking against the wind shit. I hate that. It's like, how many times have you dealt with it?
Yeah, I'm just like that. I love how they're breaking the fourth wall without it being without hammering it into the audience. We're breaking the fourth wall. Can't you see we're breaking the fourth wall? No, he just does it. It's like at least he didn't do that.
Yeah. And then the next scene, which is he saves Sarah's life, and he even gets nice memories of Sarah and Shelley.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how he tells her, it's like, I wish the rain would stop just once. It can't rain all the time. She immediately knows it's Eric.
Yeah.
And that is such a great, or the way that she's like, Eric? And she turns around and it's gone. So it's like, was that just an angel or Eric that saved me, or what the hell's going on, you know?
Yeah.
And now he's doing his own little investigation, stealing a homicide file while he does it. But before we go further, another fun fact, the TV series, The Crow, was done in 1998 during the Buffy hype and led to a show of The Crow being made, Stairway to Heaven, and it was a 1-season, 22-episode retelling of the film, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And it starred Mark Dacascos, who played in John Wick Chapter 3 as the fanboy assassin. And he played Eric Draven, and I'm thinking to myself, good choice back then, you know? Good choice back then.
Like that, like
However,
like that. The Mark, would be a good choice.
Yeah.
So.
And so the show was very good, but it also focused on martial art, or it was martial arts heavy, which kind of weighed it down because it did a lot of fights in it, and a lot of people were like, "Well, this isn't really doing much of the story, you know." And another fun one, there was some changes in the comics include Eric Draven was a drug addict, and there was no Crowbird in the comics, but there was a Skull Cowboy, which was shot in this movie. And the person who played the Skull Cowboy was Michael Berryman from, I believe, The Hills Have Eyes or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the Skull Cowboy was removed for fear it would make the movie cheesy, and he was replaced by Sarah's character's narration. The scenes were shot but taken out of the film. Now, there is one shot that was from the Skull Cowboy being in the movie, which is later near the end of the movie, where leaves are whipping up around the church. That was basically where the Skull Cowboy was about to appear, telling Eric that you're not allowed to go any further. You've already fulfilled your purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on, we now see that Albert is still playing detective, even though he's not supposed to. He got busted down to beat cop. And what's this next one? Right. Fun Boy and Darla, we're getting high.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this shot, man.
I love the joke.
Yeah.
Because he's like coming in and you tell me if you heard this one.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ walks into a hotel. Bam.
Boom. Ow.
Ow.
He hands the innkeeper 3 nails and he asks, can you put me up for the night? And I love that because he forces him to shoot his own leg, and he's like, look what you've done to my sheets. And then he passes out. And I also love the whole hand thing. I mean, you could definitely tell right here that Brandon Lee in the back is a screen, and they had someone put up a physical hand in front of the camera to do the whole effect.
Mm-hmm.
So that was such a very easily seen. But I also like when he comes in, he's like, "Hey, Fun Boy, what the fuck?" Zing! It's like, "Oh man, don't do that." It's freaking. I mean, this whole scene was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then after he puts Fun Boy in the shower, he basically does a good thing for Sarah, which is forces the morphine out of Darla.
Yeah.
And tells her, "Mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children. Morphine is bad for you, and you have a daughter out in the streets waiting for you."
Yeah.
Now, this is all happening while Top Dollar heard that Gideon's burnt down, so he sends his enforcer here to, played by Tony Todd, brilliantly, by the way, to go pick up Gideon here, who's at the pit, to basically give the message, you know. Now, if you notice, Gideon's, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit on this. Nope, it's not letting me. But his pinky finger has a elongated nail. For those of you who don't know, that's what's known as a coke nail. For those of you who don't know. Because if you can't, or if you don't want to run a line, just use your nail. And then he sees Darla run out, so he goes out. And I like how all of these guys are dying from their own vices.
Yeah.
Tintin got knives, and he's a knife guy. And Fun Boy, well, he just had a bunch of freaking drugs injected into his heart. Now, there is a deleted scene, and I'm going to take it off here so in case sensitive viewers, But there is a scene or an extended scene of where Fun Boy comes out of the shower. He's not dragged out of the shower. He wakes up and smacks Eric. He then grabs a brick of product, smacks it against his face, and then just goes, "Ah!" and goes after the crow. If you look that up, I couldn't help but laugh my ass off because he just smacks it against his face and just goes nuts. Kind of like, that short I did about Hunter Biden. But, sorry, had to. So we then see him visit Albrecht. Oh my God, this is such a great scene. He's like, "Freeze! Don't ever do that, man. Good likeness. You died, man. You were buried. You still have your hat on." He's in his t-shirt and his boxers, and he still has his cop hat on.
I was watching that scene too, and I'm like, and then like Eric's like, "You still have your hat on."
Yeah, it is so freaking great. Now, this scene is also pivotal because he's like, "Just read the file. Shelley Webster held on for 30 hours, and her body just gave up." So instead of reading the file, he holds Albert's head and sees all of it at once, the 30 hours of pain that she went through. And so when he jerks back and he's about to touch, she's like, "Don't touch me." I mean, that is just, he played that so freaking well because you almost feel it with him, folks. It really is such a touching moment. He's like, "I saw her through your eyes. You stayed with her the whole time." And it just does a wonderful job at selling it. He's like, "You shouldn't smoke these. They'll kill you." Brendan Lee was also he was a known smoker, by the way, folks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this scene here. I love it. He's like, "Say, are you ghost?" And then he just cracks him open a beer and he's like, "Here."
Yeah.
But yeah, the seeing it was just so freaking great. And then Gideon's reporting into Top Dollar about what happened. It's like, "I got stabbed. I shot the son of a bitch. And I saw the bullet wound close right up. And then I had to watch my livelihood get flushed down the toilet. Other than that, my day sucked."
Yeah.
I want this sword collection, by the way. I want it. But also, little do we know, after this movie, Michael Wincott went on to be a sword-bearing psychopath in The Three Musketeers. So he ends up killing Gideon here, stabbing him in the throat, and he's just jerking. He's like, "Oh, for Christ's sake, would you just die? Or die, would you? Give me that thing." And then he shoots it. He's like, "Thanks." I can't mimic his voice as much as I've tried. I can't mimic his voice. Michael Wincott has one of those voices, folks, that is just unmimicable. Like, kind of like Christopher Lee. You can't mimic that voice. I could do freaking Sir Ian McKellen all day, but I cannot mimic or Wincott or Christopher Lee's voice to save my life.
Yeah.
So then we see T-Bird and Skank are out doing another little mission, except that when Skank goes in for road beers, there's a deleted scene of these two kids going in to rob the place, and they end up kicking the shit out of T-Bird, and that's why he's held up originally in the store. Instead, he's just snacking on chips because he's a fucking speed freak. And we get that nice little chase by the cops, and T-Bird coming, or freaking Skank coming out. He's like, "Hey, T-Bird, I got you, buddy." He gets hit by the cops. And I love that. The cops are like, you can't even call this cream legally. And then, what the crap? Throws the coffee out the door, and the other guy's like, ah!
He's like the coffee's spilling all over him.
Yeah. And then they see the Raven look back at him and look forward, and they're like, what?
Yeah, no.
I love that, dude. And no, not Guy of Gisborne, or well, yeah, he did play Guy of Gisborne. That was in Prince of Thieves, but he also played Richelieu in The Three Musketeers. Demongo.
Yeah, from like early
1990 or 1994 or 1994. The year after this movie. This was 94, so 95. There you go.
Well, Richelieu, no.
Yes, not Richelieu, Rochefort.
Yeah, I was gonna say because Richelieu was played by
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry. I was gonna say like
Whoops.
So I was like, no, but Rochefort, he played.
Same letter, wrong name.
Yes.
Rochefort. Isn't that a smelly kind of cheese?
Yes.
We should talk that movie, or we should definitely do that as a single sometime.
Yeah.
Maybe January. But another fun fact, much as the theme as was the theme back then, this movie had a video game adaptation. But it was based off of the sequel, City of Angels. It was a failure, as it was mostly a fight game with bad graphics and bad translation from button to action. So, yeah. And I love this scene because this was one of the main payoffs. You see, or he's like, yeah, no, man, I remember everything. What, that place downtown? Yeah, we had to put some fear into that little lady. She wasn't going along with her tenant read. What? Or so what's? Who gives a shit? What the fuck? Speak to me. Speak. And then he looks up and he's like, I know you.
Yeah.
I know you, but you can't be you. We put you through the window. There is no coming back. And then he starts reciting what he read from the book in the movie. And he's like, abashed the devil stood and felt how awful goodness is. And yes, another fun fact. Thank you, Vanya. I share a birthday with Brandon Lee. My birthday is the same as Brendan Lee's. I have made no effort to hide my birthday, folks. I have done birthday streams. So, yeah. Brandon Lee's birthday is February 1st, which is mine. City of Angels was just okay. Got ruined by the studio tampering. Yeah. The only good thing in that movie was Tui Trang from Power Rangers.
Yeah, may she rest in peace, too.
Yep. She unfortunately had bad luck in, I believe, the 90s. Late 90s.
I remember when that news broke, and it was like just a shock.
Because I was always a Power Rangers fan, folks. I was a Power Rangers fan up to like 14 or 15 years old. And, well, that's why I checked out that Power Ranger movie that Netflix did. And we then get another Crow insignia. I love this one.
Mm-hmm.
I love this one. Because it just works, He's using all of their vices against them. And he flash fried T-Bird.
Yeah.
Wicked Prayer was great only because Ed Furlong became the Crow because he was buried in a fridge. Yeah, that's real. Yeah, it was. I thought Wicked Prayer was decent, but it was definitely a straight to DVD.
Yeah.
So then we see that Top Dollar is looking into it, has this henchman find the grave to Eric Draven, and Darla is now becoming a better mom. Gotta love it. Mm-hmm. Because I love how she's starting it, or she's being nice, and Sarah's just not having it at first until she's like, oh, forget it. I was never good at this mom shit. And she's like, oh, wait, that clicking moment in her head. She's like, she's being genuine.
She's being serious.
So then she decides to allow her mom to give her that, or gives her mom that chance.
Yeah.
And she's like, over easy. Them over easy. Mom. And so I like how that one thing that they couldn't fix in life, he was able to fix in death.
Yeah.
And it really was a nice thing that they did for that one, or that he did for her. So when he goes to visit, or when she goes to visit him, this is not Brandon Lee hugging her. This was done after he had passed. And that's why when he appears in the window, you don't see his face. And they also had to mimic his voice very closely for it. Where because she's looking for him and he's not there. She's like, the hell with you. I thought you cared. And he's like, Sarah, I do care. It's just, he's not there for her.
Yeah.
He can't be there for her. Mm-hmm. He is brought back for a singular purpose, to right what happened to him.
Yeah.
This scene. Oh my God. Michael Wincott could not keep a straight face in this scene. When freaking
kudos to the actor who played Skank, because it's like,
yeah, holy shit, man, damn, but he looked different. His face was all painted up like some kind of dead whore. Timber, he sent me in for some road beer try, and then this guy took it away, and then he flash fried Timber to his fucking car, man. And all the while, freaking Michael Wincott is just sitting there like this, just trying his best not to laugh his ass off. But you can see him shaking because he's laughing underneath.
I know.
He's like, maybe we should videotape this and film or play it back in slow motion.
Yeah.
And he's like, you see the grave? Empty. Grave? What grave? What about my fucking grave? Like, 3 out of 4. He's making his way back to this speed freak right here. Phone boy fault. That boy's out of control. And he's like, now this ghost gonna kill my ass next. He just fucking belts him, man. Spinning the dude around and just throws him in the chair. This ain't no ghost. But it's just so freaking great. The scene just, oh my God, I love it. It's like, dude, you can't keep a straight face during the scene.
No.
DeMongo, I was never deathly afraid of David Bowie. I thought he was creepy when I was younger. When I watched Labyrinth, I was never deathly afraid of him. Yeah, DeMongo and I or he's known me since childhood. But so yeah, he'll say some things that it's be like, shut the fuck up, dude. Yep. But yeah, then we get this nice scene. Now you can hear Draven playing in the background, and I love the guitar or the solo riff that he does. That I mean, I wish I could play that like on repeat before he does the full or the speed riff. That was a guitarist that they actually had come on to do the speed or the rapid riff, and then he smashes and then he does the smashing of the guitar, because it's like, this was my last time or my last performance essentially before I finish off what I'm here for. And I also like this scene here because he's like, or they both see, it's like, you've seen it too? I saw something. Eric didn't come back for me. He can't, or he says he can't be my friend anymore because I'm alive. And yeah, it's like he's come back, but only he can't stay back, you know? He can't stay alive. So these guys are all getting their shit together. And I love this. He's like, he's like freaking just holding Skank up by his busted hand. He's like, would you sit down?
Yeah.
And this was also such a great shot right here, where he's just outside listening to it, and where Top Dollar's basically talking about Devil's Night, how he started the first fires, and how it's like, a man has an idea. The idea attracts others like-minded. The idea expands. The idea becomes an institution. And, well, that's when it gets out of control. And the idea has become the institution, folks. Time to move along. And he's like, you don't want us to do Light My Fire? No, I want you to light a goddamn fire so big the gods will notice us again. That's what I'm saying. I want you all to look me straight in the eyes and say, are we having fun or what? I mean, he really freaking sold that performance. And then he gets up in Skank's grill. He's like, hey, you, what's your name? Skank. You don't feel that? I feel like a little worm on a big fucking hook. I can speak as fast as that dude, folks. Well, because I have ADHD, but also because it's fun.
Yeah.
But he's like, I feel like a little worm on a big fucking hook. It's such a great scene. But when he comes in, he's like, I just want him.
Yeah.
Well, you can't have him. Well, I see you've made your decision. Now let's see you enforce it. And going through. Now, originally, folks, after I saw this movie for the first time, I thought this was the scene in which the accident happened. Because there's a lot of people shooting him with blanks. But it turned out that the scene in which I believe this, or I don't know which specific scene it was, but knowing it was from Michael Massey, there's only two other scenes in which it could have happened, which was the initial killing of Eric Draven or the scene in which he gets his revenge on him. I'm guessing it's the former because that was a direct like down and boom kind of thing, you know. I'm guessing that was probably the accidental shot.
Yeah.
So then say again.
Is it probably considering like the scene where he's facing Fun Boy, like like when the scene like leading up to when he kills Fun Boy, it's obviously Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
So it couldn't be then.
Yeah. And so after Brandon Lee kills everybody and saves Skank for last, I love how he goes up to Skank and he takes a katana that he was using to slice up the rest, and he just swooshes the katana over and it lands on the table. So when he's on the table, boom, shoves it down, scaring him out.
Yeah.
And it's like, guess it's not a good day to be a bad guy, huh, Skank? Thanks, Skank. There's Skank right there. Skank's dead. That's right. But the reason why Brandon Lee's trembling is because he's feeling all of what happened to Shelly from Skank, what Skank did to her.
Yeah.
In case you all don't know, all four of them had a go at her.
Mm-hmm.
And they then beat her. So that is why she died. So he gets tossed out the window, and I believe it was they wanted the busting of the glass to that of the car he landed on to shape like a crow, except that they couldn't do it. So he then gets out, starts running away, but he's also starting to realize that he can feel pain.
Mm-hmm.
So when the cops start shooting at him, he's actually feeling it.
Yeah.
And he manages to shake him off thanks to Albert, and he gets to the graveyard. And Albert's on suspension because, well, he pulled a file, and after T-Bird got found in the river, he taunted the detective because that detective was the one who actually got his Albert knocked down the beat officer or the beat cop. But that's
dick.
Yeah. So then we see he's visiting Sarah, and she's like, I know, shouldn't be in a graveyard. Safest place to be. Everybody's dead, you know? And he's trying to let her know. It's like, it's really late, Sarah. She's like, you didn't say goodbye. You're just going to have to find a way to forgive me for that. And he's ready to be to return. And he picks up the flowers. He's about to touch Shelly's grave. And, well, that's when the crow alerts him that she's been taken. Yeah. And I love this part because freaking Michael Wincott can't stop being funny as fuck in this movie. Quick impression for you. Caw, bang, fuck, I'm dead. I mean, I wanted, after I saw this movie, I was going to redesign the thumbnail with that line. Unfortunately, I thought better against it because it had the word "fuck" in it, and you can't put those on thumbnails.
No, like apparently you can't. Even if you alter it a little bit, so like it's not quite the spelling of the curse word, YouTube still is like so.
Yeah, and so we're gonna have to speed it up because I got the call, so I'm gonna have to get out of here in like 10 minutes. Right. So he then finds out that he can bleed. He ends up it's because he's killed all those responsible for his death that we know of. It's not revealed until later that he Top Dollar as actually the original orchestrator of his death. And I love this shot because lightning strikes it as he's getting it.
Yeah.
And so when he gets stabbed, he's like, I have something for you. I don't need it anymore. He puts all the pain that Shelley felt, the 30 hours, into Michael Wincott.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, that would probably kill a person. That would probably kill a person. Because
I'm surprised. I was surprised that he wasn't dead as he was falling.
Yeah, he was probably dying as he was falling, or he was screaming as he was falling. But I can't show you the aftermath of what happens when he falls because he falls.
Probably the most brutal kill in this.
Yeah, movie. I mean, he didn't just get through the back; he went through the back of the head and a horn coming out of his mouth, folks.
I know, and then like it's raining, so you have like you know, I guess like the
well, the blood is draining out of the mouth. Yeah, the mouth of the statue.
Yeah, like water, so water can come through, and it's just like a gusher.
Yep, and so then we see that he goes down there. And he's like, "What you put in, or what you had up in here saved me. Thank you." And stay with him until help arrives. Well, help arrives. He also disappears, and I love this bit because Sarah comes, or not Sarah, but Shelley comes out, or finally comes back to bring him back, essentially.
Yeah.
Which is, I love the look that she gives when she puts her hand on him. She's like, "Oh, you've looked better."
Yeah.
And then she gives him a nice kiss. And then Magic is there to give the ring back to Sarah because Top Dollar took it.
Oh, yeah,
and that's all I got on that.
The sister character
had
her eyes gouged out by the crow.
Yes,
she tried to
because she understood what he was. Yeah. Because she's also a spirit medium of sorts. She uses people's eyes to read things. And so she's like, this is all the power you have, and now it's mine. Pity there's not more time for us. And then the crow just basically is like, well, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna go out fighting, and pecks her eyes out. I love that because she's starting to ring the bell because she's blind. So that's kind of symbolic in a way too.
Yeah.
But yes, also his grave is no longer busted open. Now that he is finally returned and with the wrong or all the wrong things right, he can finally rest. And it really, this movie is good. And they have the nice for Brandon and Eliza. And I was always wondering, who is Eliza? At the time, I didn't know when I saw the movie for the first time because I didn't know that he was Eliza something. I can't remember her last name. But yes, overall, how would you rate this movie?
Overall, I'd say I'd probably give it an objective score of 8 out of 10.
Definitely.
So which is still really good. Little nitpicks here and there with certain scenes, but a lot of it was not things that could be helped pretty much because of filming and everything. So it's like, so I'm not really, so that's why I'm like not, I call it nitpicks more than criticisms. But subjectively, I'd give it like a 9.5 out of 10.
Oh, definitely.
It holds you from beginning to end. I think it still could have worked black and white as like the original intention was, like when we're filming it. But at the same time, I do like how it's like, yeah, it's in color, but it's darker. Like it's definitely darker. Like the director understood the necessary lighting techniques for achieving certain elements in some scenes. So,
as for me, yes, I agree with the scores. Definitely 8 out of 10 objective, 9.5 subjective.
Like it's
and
pretty damn close to perfect subjective.
Pretty much, yes. And considering Brandon Lee died before the movie could be finished, they did a very good job at making it look like he was alive during or throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, folks.
Rest in peace, Brandon Lee. So
yes, I do gotta definitely rest in peace. To answer Soul Assassin really quick, thoughts on the Crow remake. It's unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's unnecessary. They don't need to.
Yeah. Like I said, I do agree with like some people who are saying, well, if they keep it close to the comics, it could work because some things are changed from the comics to the film, and it could be an anthology series. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, I can see that. However, I don't trust Hollywood really at all. Like there's like few in Hollywood that I would trust to even remotely come close to doing a reboot of The Crow. And I just don't trust current Hollywood.
Yeah, nor do I. Anyway, folks, that is going to be the stream. Thank you all so much. I'm sorry I can't read through everybody who was in the chat, but you all are all freaking great. Thank you to the mods for keeping the spamming down. Tomorrow, 11 a.m., I'm going to be going live with NB Geeks to talk about the remake for The Wolfman and discussing that. Saturday, I'm going to be on Geek Detective Pierce's channel discussing Batman Mask of the Phantasm and the epilogue to Justice League Unlimited because it's connected to it. And Sunday night is Return of the King discussion. And then next week, me and Mara are back together with ones and twos for Secrets of the Ooze. I'm buying pizza for that stream because of the beginning of that movie.
Unfortunately, when I start the stream, it's past. I have a cutoff in the evening, and I don't eat after a certain time. And unfortunately, it's past. Otherwise, I would do the same thing.
Well, I'm buying it so when I watch it, I'm eating. I'm not going to have it for the stream.
Okay, I'll try to do the same. I kind of doubt, but I'll try to do the same because there's no way you can at least I didn't do it for the first one, but I had to do it for the second one somehow.
Definitely. And also next Thursday is Shin Godzilla, folks. I'm going to show it. Or there's a shot in that movie that everybody thinks is a puppet thing. We'll get into it when we get into it. It's Shin Godzilla next Thursday. But anyway, thank you, Mara, for tuning in or for joining. And thanks everybody else for in the chat for tuning in. I got to get going because I got to go pick up somebody. And, well, I was supposed to be out of here 2 minutes ago. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all have a wonderful night. And always remember, stay humble.
Good night.